Hi, I'm Ben.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and today we're going to give you some updates on our current project where we're exploring the D3 library as well as a large data set from eBird to help ornithologists and birders identify the birds that they might see out in the field or in preparation for a trip.
Since we last spoke, we decided to use the data to figure out how certain types of species of birds are related to one another in terms of how often you might see certain groups of them together in the same outing. We've noticed that in looking at the data, there are certain ways that we can co-locate where different bird species are seen at the same time, and we can help users understand the relationship between the different types of birds they might see at the same time.
Ultimately, we hope that by providing information about which birds are seen with other birds, we can help birders and ornithologists predict and understand which birds they actually might see better in the field. So for example, if you see a mourning dove, you might be more likely to see a robin.
Which could be great for first-time birders once they list one bird that they've seen to be able to get a list of 10 other birds that they should then be keeping an eye out for.
This is one of the most powerful things about D3. We can take a data set, manipulate it to match exactly what we're looking for, and then display it in a useful and interesting way. Right now we've been exploring a couple of different options in the D3 examples library to understand which types of visualizations we like best. We've also taken a couple of tutorials and watched lots of videos to better understand how we might architect our data set to match the visualization. As we've been thinking through the architecture of our code, it's really important to make sure that the data that we're providing is in the right format for visualization. So in this case, it means making sure that we have arrays in the right place, we have objects with the right properties, and that we can move through them accordingly.
So our goal is to go to eBird, collect the large sample set of data that we need, which is very, very large and long. Then we'll manipulate that with a script file that converts it all into a usable parsed set of data in a JSON file, which will then be referenced by our final HTML and JavaScript that also uses the D3 library. For the code to this point, we tried to take a large data set from eBird so that we could start manipulating the data. But what we realized is the file is pretty large, so what we did instead is we moved on to a smaller sample set that they were able to provide, and we've been manipulating that. It came in a large CSV format with all the information that was needed, location data, species data, different sightings, different locations, and we've been combing through these spreadsheets and parsing the data into usable objects and arrays that we can implement into the later stages of our code. One of our major risks to this point is finding the ability to actually open the large data file that we've been obtaining from eBird. We've downloaded it, unzipped it. It's a really big file, like really big file, and we've tried to open it a few times with a few different softwares, and it's either takes a really long time or it crashes our machines. So we're still trying to sort out exactly how we're going to get into that data. So it's definitely a risk right now for us to be able to figure out how we're going to actually crack open this large data set that this treasure trove of information that we want to be able to implement. We're still confident that we'll be able to reach our next milestone because we're looking into other methods that we can get into this data set, but we also have available smaller, more bite-sized sample sets of data that, if a worst case scenario, they're not ideal sets, but we'd still be able to use them to create the visualization that we want to.